They'll blanket you in Wi-Fi and profit off the radiation. Congregation collecting the people for that Satan. I keeps it blazing, cause I can read between the lines. I ain't blind, we unwind what they're really saying. Genetically modify what you're tasting. Don't need that cottage promise, so now you live up in your mom's basement. Redesign time so your mind is always wasted. Programmed to crave the basics. Keep the beta in stasis. Pay the state, kid. You're in debt for being born. Messengers are more than just the price for being warned. Don't be alarmed, disconnect from their machinations. Stop subscribing to the folly of own nations. Bone breaking ain't the answer, cause they seek the ownership of souls. Spread the seeds and watch them grow. Break the chains of control. Break the chains of control.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Welcome to your Thursday night episode of Rogue Ways. Today we are tackling the color purple. It has been on the minds of people for a while now. I started hearing about this, purple thing, I guess actually years ago, because I heard about the purple revolution and all of these things, and we'll get into that. But especially in the past few years, people have really focused on purple as like a key to unlocking part of the control mechanism of society. And so we'll look at that point of view as well as some other things that go along with purple. It's a rabbit hole and a mind fuck, and also like everything, it turns out that there are some aspects that are maybe a bit hyped up and not very reasonable. And so we're going to look at all of that together tonight on Rogue Ways as usual. I know already, I'll say it now before someone else says it. I'm wearing pink, and pink goes along with this whole purple thing, and so people are going to accuse me of being part of the illusion, and that this is my signaling of that. And that's not true. I just woke up this morning and completely unconnected to the show thought, I'm going to wear my pink shirt. And so I'm wearing a pink shirt because I like pink. And I also love purple. And I could have worn a purple shirt too, and it also wouldn't have meant anything except that I enjoy that color, as well as I enjoy all colors, but purple is one of my favorites, and so I don't have any problems with that. It's funny, when I was young, I actually was sort of conditioned to hate pink, because my dad hated pink, and so, you want to be kind of like cool like your parents and like what they like and don't like what they don't like until you get to be like a teenager and you like hate everything they love and love everything they hate. And so as a small kid, I was like, yeah, pink is stupid. Screw pink. And it took me a while, like into adulthood, before I realized like I like pink, but I've been not using it and not like purchasing anything pink for years because of that like early kind of conditioning. So anyway, silly, pointless story about conditioning and, our personalities and how they develop. Just to say that I am wearing pink, and it has nothing to, there's no hidden symbology in it or meaning in it. It's just a thing that's true. So yeah, what's up? Biggie Smollett is in the chat tonight. Nice to see you as always, friend. Friends of the Revolution, he says. A fine evening to you. Yes. Scotland's in the house with Scotty K. What's up, Scotty? Scotty, if you happen to be the person who purchased some orgone today, check your email. There is a small issue, and I would like to offer you some things in return. So if you're not, then hello anyways. And if you are, then check that out. I have emailed you at the email associated with your PayPal account. Regan's in the house. What's up, Regan? Nice to see you. Good evening to you as well. Thunder Chicken is here. It's a blizzard in Michigan, I guess. Ooh, I like blizzards personally, but I don't have like babies or anyone sort of depending on me to do anything at any specific time. So they're okay for me. What's up, DS? Hi, right back at you. -40 is what Regan's going to experience soon. Man, talk about what do they call it? Like an Arctic cyclone or something? That's hardcore. Courtney Nichols is here. What's up, Courtney? And Snake Jones. Snake Jones knows. Everybody here is, as always, some of my favorite people. It's so good to see you guys, and everyone who hasn't said hi yet but is out there watching. Hello to you too. It's always awesome to have you here. And let's just jump into it. Man, my site is getting attacked or something. My site has gone down like 6 times today, and so usually I like to show you my site, but no one can see my site right now, so we'll just move on. If you want to go to the site when it's working again, rogueways.org, it's never not worked. I've had it for years. I mean, I've had this site for, God, I don't even know, like a decade. But there was a few years there where it was stolen from me, the domain was, and so I didn't have it, and so you have to go to the Wayback Machine to see that version. But anyway, it's never not worked. So it's very weird. And I just, the conspiracy minded part of me is like, well, I did just do that show attacking China. So yeah, I don't know, but I did, I lived in Bahrain for a little while. I mentioned this from time to time. And when I was living in Bahrain, there was a surveillance blimp that lived right above my apartments. And by surveillance blimp, I mean it was a blimp that was permanently tethered to my building and was full of surveillance equipment. So they could hear everything we did. I'm sure they could see through walls. They can monitor all of our activity. Even if we had some surreptitious way of communicating, they could have picked up on those signals, So it's a fucked up country. And it was very interesting. And so I had a travel blog for a couple years at that point, I think about 3 or 4 years maybe at that point. And so, I was using the same blog, but now for being in Bahrain. And my entire life of the blog, over many years, let's say that there was like 2,000 or 3,000 hits total, over all those years combined. And I moved to Bahrain, and within 2 days, I had something like 10,000 hits on my blog. So Bahrain is a surveillance heavy country, and they were very interested to know what I would share with my very small readership in the West. They are a tightly controlled media outlet. You are not allowed to know the horrible things happening there, which include torture and oppression that is unimaginable, which is part of why I left very quickly. Anyways, all of that to say, who knows which country is or person or just random, fuck up is affecting my site right now. But yeah, it's pretty creepy. I'm used to it. Before that, the U.S. government was after me. So, I'm not a friend of governments anywhere. So anyways, rogue.locals.com is the place to be. This is our badass community full of all kinds of information. And wow, I guess I posted a lot today, but other people post too. So usually it's more mixed up than that, but go check it out. Become a supporter of the show if you want to interact there and post and share with us. We'd love to have you. If you want to just be a member and see the content, that's also awesome. It is always nice when people support the show. Rogue Ways exists because of you and the things that you give. If you feel like you have value here, then it is awesome to give some value back. So you can do that through super chats. When we're doing live streams like that, you can do that by supporting at rogue.locals.com. You can do it through PayPal donations, and you can also do it by buying orgone or readings or other things off the site when it is working. And all those links are in the description below. I also wanted to point out and share with you guys that I am now working with a new Agora magazine out of Canada, and here is one of my most recent articles with them. And so I'll throw that in the chat if you want to go check it out. Logan said I was blowing up his phone with my notifications today. It's like some days I just find so many things that I want to share with people, and then other days I barely interact at all. It's awesome. Yes, so check it out. It's not just, cool articles in my opinion, because I wrote them, but there's a lot of really cool content on the new Agora. And, the guy who puts this all together is actually going to be joining us here on Sunday to talk about all kinds of awesome things. He's a pretty big badass, so check it out when you get a chance. And let's jump into the purpleness. After we mentioned that, Snake Jones got to troll Dr. Fauci on the White House YouTube channel an hour ago, I thought they didn't allow comments. Good for you for getting through. I love it. Called him a domestic terrorist for everyone to see. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we shouldn't be afraid of our government, dude. I mean, they want us to feel afraid, and my phone's been tapped since I was like 24, or maybe before then, but at least then. And I didn't care. I still talked about everything I was going to talk about. I'm not going to censor myself for them. And if they want to build some secret file so that someday when we go into full dystopia, they have like a list of supposed transgressions, like go for it. I have nothing to hide. So I'm not worried about it. And I'm glad that you are not worried about it and you're willing to make your dissent known. We can do it intelligently. We don't have to go like attacking people physically or whatever. We can just be really clear about what we think. So anyways, we're talking about purple today. And I thought it'd be helpful to first just start with some simple psychology of the color purple. So when humans see purple, think about purple, and interact with purple, what's going on psychologically. We'll talk about the color spectrum too and just a couple things. And obviously, we always associate purple with royalty. That's because of a time when purple dye was incredibly hard to come by, which we will also talk about a little bit because of some really crazy psychedelic properties that come up with some purple dyes. But so that's why, it's not like it was like programmed in on purpose. This was a happenstance, part of nature. Nature just doesn't create a lot of purple that can be transferred to other mediums. You know what I mean? Like made into dyes. And so we just didn't have a lot of purple, outside of like maybe purple flowers and some other things that nature does make, but doesn't allow us to use and to make our own purple. You know what I'm saying? So it became really rare. And because of its rarity, like anything rare, it goes up to the elite first, right? The elite get it first because they have all of the resources. So anything rare they have, just like spices for a while, just like gold for a while, there's all these things we can find examples of that when they were rare, especially, you could find them mostly in the hands of the elite. So royalty is associated with purple because of that. Apparently purple is actually one of the hardest colors to discriminate. That is, it's the hardest to see. It's probably, therefore, the last that we develop the ability to see as young beings in the world. We start with just 3 colors, red, black, and white, and we slowly start adding more and more colors to our ability to see. And it'd be interesting to know when we fully have all color. And we don't even know which humans can see which colors. That could be its whole own show. We have all kinds of crazy optics and people with crazy abilities and inabilities, disabilities too, with vision. So we could seriously do a whole episode just on that. But it would be interesting to know, when humans, at what age are humans finally able to see purple? It might be really young. It might be like one or two. It might be old. It might be like 6. It might be part of why kids almost always in a kindergarten classes, they did studies, and almost every child tends to choose the purple crayon when asked which crayon they would choose, and given the 8 Crayola, simple pack colors. And maybe that's why, because it's also rare, in their lives up to that point. It like came in late, so they're like, ooh, that one is the most interesting. It took me a while to see that one. Anyway, so it's harder to see. And then they say, it's sensual. I mean, this is all just our psychology. We just attribute these characteristics to purple for various reasons, right? It doesn't mean it's not real. It just means like this is the things that humans experience when they think about and experience purple. Wisdom. We think about wisdom when we see purple. It is soothing. I think like the sensual and the soothing part has to do with lilacs personally, but I could be wrong. There's a lot of those qualities associated with lilac, so it would make sense. The wisdom part, if you can see auras, that purple is the top area, our top chakra, and so that is associated with our crown and wisdom. It's soothing. It's mysterious. It's mysterious probably, again, because it's on that edge of the visible wavelength, and so there's like aspects of it that maybe our brain can't quite wrap itself around. And again, it's like the last that we can discern, or it's just the hardest to discern. So it makes sense, too, that it would add an air of mysteriousness in your brain. And exotic, again, because of its rarity early on in our desire to dye things. And saying it's symbolic is ridiculous because there's nothing that isn't. So yes, of course it is. Anyway, this is just a simple article to go through some of those associations and why they exist. And, there's, again, people going through like, why is it associated with luxury and power and dignity and status and all these things? Again, the Purple Heart, it's an honored military status as well, and independence and grace, and all of these things go back to that purple dye rarity. And that's it. And maybe, like I said, again, like that end of the spectrum sort of thing, that like difficult to discern sort of aspect of it. And therefore it could be associated with mysticism and magic. So these things are all because of the qualities of the wavelength of the color purple, right? And because of the rarity of purple as a dye. And that's just reality, right? As far as I'm concerned, that's just like the metrics of our known universe. So yeah, that's the basic that's a basic aspects of purple that we know of. Checking in with the chat. Jesus wore purple. Yeah, I mean, anyone like held up in a high place would be portrayed as having to do with purple. And it's common. It's so common. It's so common, and it's so common, and so people are sometimes starting to think there's like a conspiracy behind it, or that everything purple has certain qualities, and that's where I begin to disagree. Archangel Jeremiah is apparently purple and associated with amethyst as well. Nice to know. And welcome, Timoteo Ash. Snake Jones, when my crown opened, it was a purple cymatic beam of light. Yeah, a lot of people who are dealing with crown energy experience it as purple. That's why it's often represented in that area in the chakra system as purple. We are going to talk about hand purple, truth is alchemy. And purple and orange, yeah, they often go together. It's a good call. Purple and orange psychologically have a lot of effects on us, and it makes us want to respond and do things. It's interesting. And so they're often used together. At Halloween, we do see purple and orange a lot. That's a good point, Vanguard of Truth. We also see it a lot, and we'll see it a lot today. They're just colors that really get our psychology going that we respond to. So there is a weird thing too, that purple tends to be associated with children and laughing, and nobody knows why. And I think that that's probably because children, it's really rare, I'll tell you, as someone who sees auras, it's very rare to see purple. It's very rare that people are like actively using crown chakra energy, and yet children will much more often have purple around them. They're not even trying, they're just innocently living in the moment, and so they often have a lot more clear and colorful auras. And so maybe that's all it is. Maybe it's our subconscious understanding, because we all see auras, in my opinion. We just don't know it, and we don't necessarily consciously perceive it. But maybe that's part of why we associate it with children and laughing. I just thought that was interesting. This is a huge, long thing about all sorts of colors, and I was just looking to see what might be true about purple. So that's one thing that stood out. And of course, there's been studies on all kinds of like what colors do men tend to like, what colors do women tend to like, and clearly we see the majority of men and women love blue. I think it's really weird that men don't like purple at all. Like if you look, like there's not even, purple is not even visually represented here. But over here with women, we see, a giant portion likes purple, and it's almost, if you add those two, blue and purple, together, it's almost equivalent to the blue in men. And I wonder if you did this over time, how it would change. Because I kind of have a feeling that in the modern world, men are like not supposed to like purple. Like it's gay or something, And so maybe they're like afraid to say it, but actually 23% of them like purple too. Who knows? But I just thought it was kind of interesting. Some people think purple is their least favorite, which doesn't make sense to me at all. It does make sense why the browns and yellows and grays, again, energetically, those are like the most kind of muddying usually. They have an indication that there's things going on that aren't clear and maybe dangerous even. So yeah, it's just interesting. We could look at any color and we could do a whole show on this color, and that's one of the things I want to keep emphasizing over and over again, that purple right now is a really big thing. And so we're just looking at purple right now because so many people are focused on this aspect of our current programming, and it is real. And we also want to make sure we're looking at it accurately. So I did plug it into the gematria machine, and it gives you the Jewish, English, and simple gematria numbers. And then you can click and look on other words and phrases that have those same numbers. And so it is interesting, right? One is look for God here. I don't know if you could read that very well. Let me bump it up a bit. Up at the very top, it says, look for God here. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. Because again, your crown chakra is purple. It's, supposed to be your kind of most ascended and wise energy. And I really think all your energy centers are equally as important. But I understand that concept, right? Like ascendancy, we go from the root chakra up to the top. And so like, look for God here. It's pretty interesting. And honestly, when people do have purple in their auras, it's like very godlike. It's a very deep spiritual experience. It's very rare. So that made sense to me that it might have the same numbers. It's interesting. It's all, none of these are like, this for sure means something really important. It's just very interesting to look at all the evidence, right? But some of the other interesting ones were things like disgraceful Sotoro, which is one of Barack Obama's apparently like his real names. The Archangel Samael, which some people believe is like demonic, right? And to go on, we also can see Obama, Hand of Satan. And when you learn later what the Purple Revolution is about, some of these negative ones, like, it makes you wonder, right? Great Satan is in there. The Renegade Archangel, which might also indicate the fallen, the rebellion leader. But the Eternal God is in there too, which is interesting. And so is Master Healer. And so, there's a duality of all things, but this seems to reach all the way up to the top and all the way down to the bottom at the same time. But that's kind of what you would expect in a fractal. To find oneself is interesting, especially when we know that, again, purple is our crown chakra, or up there near the top at the very least. Forcing a fight, infernal sadism, tension, amok, death portal, trapdoor, all these things are interesting. So there's a lot associated with it. Again, I don't read too much into that because it's like how many things in the world have the same gematria value. It's not like every single one of them is intimately related, but it is just interesting to note some of those extreme examples in there. But yeah, we do have purple at the crown of our chakra system, especially if you're doing the 7 chakra system. There's so many chakra systems and there's so many reasons to work with each of them. And this is the one that most people know and most people encounter. So, and it correlates most accurately with the way I see auras, at least the colors I see and what they mean. So it makes sense to me. But yeah, it exists right above the head. They say its root is where our baby's soft spot is. It's kind of representing that way our connection to the divine, right? Or the etheric. It has the highest frequency, and so does the color violet. So it makes sense, the highest frequency in the visible light spectrum, at least. The next frequency up is too fast for us to see. And so that would be ultraviolet, and it would be invisible light to us. I think we all are kind of aware of this, but just wanted to touch on it. So I don't know. We could do a whole episode just on the crown chakra as well. But yeah, if you have a dysfunctional energy center there, you definitely will have issues trying to connect with your higher self or with, the divine, or channel any sort of information from there, or, keep negative sort of thoughts and lack of wisdom out of your sphere. And so there's a reason that they choose purple. And by they, I mean the people who are programming reality for us and expecting us to go along with it. And I mean the elites, and they are in control of so much of what we see and so much of our society. So we understand that, right? And there's a reason they choose purple. And this next concept is from programming. It's come from computer programming. But it's the same principle that they are using when they choose purple on purpose to start programming this specific time and the things that they want to happen during this specific time that we are living through, right? And that's the inversion principle, right? Or inversion of control principle. So you think about, this is basically just talking about how in programming you can invert any given function and the control thereof. It's simple, right? And I'm just pointing out that they use the same programming principle against us when they're programming reality. And I'm not saying we live in a computer simulation, although we might. I'm just saying that the principles are the same. There's a reason why language is structured the way it is, and computer language is no different. And so the principles are similar, right? And just like we say, spelling, it's like casting a spell. Coding is another form of spell. It's like the next level up or down, however you want to look at it. And that's what they're doing. They're inverting the massive amount of power and energy that we know is true and associated with purple, not because purple is negative or bad or evil or means anything other than these things that we already sort of naturally feel and associate with it. right? But they know that power and they know that energy, and they're inverting it and they're trying to use it for control. So why right now? Well, timing is everything, right? Why right now? Why would you think right now? Why would right now be the time that they would be focused on purple so heavily that we see it everywhere in everything they're doing? Because right now, just like many people have pointed out, we are in a time where our energy level is that high, right? Like people are saying, this is the Great Awakening, and you can call it that if you want. I don't care to call it anything. I just noticed that it seems to be true that even though things are getting way hairier and crazier, a lot more people are reaching a lot more higher, vistas of understanding and vision. And perhaps like Howie McCaskey said when he was on Rogue Ways and other shows, that the bottom is actually dropping out and we're just kind of still up here. Maybe it's just easier to connect with that purple energy. And maybe it's the crown chakra of the planet is coming to, back awake right now. I definitely experienced something like that in my own visions and questioning. And so it makes sense to me that would be happening. There's all kinds of heightened energy, heightened ability, and heightened access at the very least to those levels of energy right now on Earth. So timing is everything. Right now is the time they would then need to try and invert that energy and try to use it to their means instead of our means, right? To their unnatural timelines instead of our natural timelines. So that's why now. That's why purple. As far as I'm concerned, could I be like absolutely wrong? Sure, like always. But that's what I'm perceiving right now. It's what makes the most sense to me. So yeah, again, people are really focused on this for some reason. It's a really common, like we all learn this in school. I loved science fiction novels that played with this idea that there are sounds and sights that are outside of our ability to sense them. There was a super awesome, I think it was Ray Bradbury's story where there was just a completely invisible, like aliens had come to Earth and no one could hear them or see them because they spoke and, emitted photons or whatever outside of our spectrum. And so it was super fun. It was a really fun story. I loved these concepts. I love these concepts. And of course, like we said, some people can see a little bit more ultraviolet or a little bit more infrared than other people. And, maybe there's other ways of sensing them too. But yeah, we do get cut off at some point. And the visible spectrum is actually a tiny, tiny sliver. And this visual here doesn't even do it justice, right? Because in reality, there's way, 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 way more wavelengths of energy in a universe that we are not necessarily perceiving. There's nothing evil about that. There's nothing dark about that. There's nothing like you've been duped about that. That's just the range we're in, and it's fine. So I don't know. People are like making this out to be like it's like used against us or like it's like really meaningful in some way. And I guess it could be, and I'm missing something, but I just think this is just nature. This is just where we are in nature. We're in the middle, we're in the middle of heaven and earth. And so we're in the middle of all of the wavelengths and all of our ability to perceive them. And that just makes sense to me. That's just where we're at. So where we chose to incarnate is right here in the middle. So I don't know. That makes sense to me. I don't think it's like this crazy thing that's like being used against us or was programmed against us. I just think it's how it is, right? And so, yeah, so that's a thing. And anyway, oops. So, again, back to the dye. Purple dye was really hard to find. Tyrian purple was the first, I think, known dye, or it was for a while at least. It was made from sea snails, so you could make some various reds and purples and purplish colors out of it, and it was rare. It was really rare. So like we talked about, that's why it's rare, because you have to collect all these shells and you have to process them, and then and they only came from like one place, and then once that people saw it, they were like, holy shit, what is that color? It's amazing. Just like if there was some new trend and you were like, whoa, I totally want that. Like, it's not like it was planned or this is horrible thing. It's just true. Blue is along with purple, easier to make and dye, but that deep blue that's like indigo or whatever, like right on the edge of purple, that's also hard hard to find. So whatever, they found, they found it and it was rare and it was a big deal. Who cares? They have found, various examples of like really old purples that are still intact, and they're like so rare and so cool even still, and like whatever, you can go read about this too. I just don't find it that interesting anymore. But just to cover it, there it is. But Han purple is fucking crazy. Han purple is, I just learned about this like 2 months ago or something, and I was like, oh, what? Like, this is nuts. Like, we don't fucking talk about this shit. This is some of my favorite shit, is when it's so mysterious like this. And Han purple is also super old, and it's another purple we didn't know about it. We thought it was just that one we just went through, Tyrian purple, and we saw some really rare examples of it every once in a while. But here was this other purple in China that people didn't even know existed. And they found it. They found these old, again, artificial pigment, which is a dye, right? Quantum physicists are trying to understand it. When a quantum physicist is trying to understand a dye, like weird shit is going on. So it's really weird, actually. And it's not like, I mean, it makes it sound like you can time travel with it or something, and you probably can't, but it is very interesting. It makes me wonder if it would have like scrying applications, or like interdimensional communication application, like in magic, if Han purple like had some pretty cool elements or characteristics. It does have cool elements. But anyways, it was discovered, it was made 2,500 years ago or more. They decorated, the famous terracotta warriors actually had it on some of them, and other ceramics, metal, jewelry, but it's a technological wonder. And they had to grind up these raw materials in precise proportions. So this is precise chemistry that they're doing here. With the seashells, there's some processing, but it's not like this. It's not like you have to go through this like learned and precise, very, very precise like chemical compounds in order to get it, right? You had to heat it to specific and incredibly high temperatures. So they couldn't reconstruct it again until 1992. That's how long it took them to this thousands of years. And we know here at Rogueways that there are so many things from the past that are inexplicable, that we haven't been able to reconstruct or recreate. But I never would have thought a color would be one of them, right? Or like a dye or a pigment. So that is fascinating in itself. It took us until 1992. And finally, they identified its composition. But they've discovered all of these amazing properties of this now that they have recreated it, including the ability to emit powerful rays of light in the near infrared range. So that means it's radioactive, right? That means it's radioactive dye, which is cool and maybe dangerous, but cool. But this is the part that's really fucked up. It also is able to collapse 3 dimensions down to 2 under the right conditions. Like, what the fuck, dude? I'm sure there's people who have done entire shows on this and understand it way better than me. But I understand the basic concept that is not what dyes do, usually. That's not a function of dyes. So that's crazy. And again, this is like, purple's on that edge. It's on that edge of our visible spectrum. So it makes sense that under the right conditions, it would have wild properties. Wild to us because we don't perceive beyond that. Anything we don't perceive is going to be wild to us. So it's very interesting. So pretty cool. So yeah, purple, it just goes through some of the rarity of purple again. How some of these famous terracotta warriors, some of them have some of it on them, which is very interesting. So yeah, it's, it points out too, the Tyrian purple was made from organic compounds from snail shells and things. Han purple is synthetic. It means it's got inorganic materials in it. So they find out. Oh, and they also go through this Maya blue color, which was indigo and white clay mixed together, and Egyptian blue. And so there's some other blues and purples that are less known than Tyrian, but that are still normal and organic, I should say. Whereas Han is not. It's the only one that's not. So they finally analyzed, figured out what is the synthetic compound? Well, it's barium. I'm thinking like chemtrails, barium. Like how easy is it to get barium in ancient China? Maybe it's way easier than I know. Maybe you just go into a mine and grab it. I have no idea. Copper, silicate, and calcium. I mean, that doesn't sound very exciting, but barium is radioactive at the very least, right? And so I guess that's part of what might give it its qualities. But like it said earlier, it heats it to extremely high temperatures and has this precise chemical compounding in order to create it. So it's very precise. It's very technologically advanced. And there's no clear reason why the Chinese would have replaced calcium with barium, which necessitates increasing the fire temperature by 100 degrees or more. That's a big choice to make, right? Again, I just feel like they knew something, because why would you go to the extra trouble? Again, if you could have just used calcium and still gotten this blue dye. But so yeah, they combined silica, copper, and barium. Oh, my bad. I think earlier I said they had calcium in it, but they actually replaced calcium with barium, and that's how it differed from other dyes. And I guess that's the inorganic part. In precise proportions, heating to 1,000 degrees Celsius. And there was some physicists who thought maybe it's a byproduct of making glass. So, I mean, maybe that's how they just kind of stumbled upon it. But it has these fluorescent properties, which is pretty fucking rare in the ancient world. As far as I know, this is the only example of that. Again, it has infrared light emitting out of it. Very bright and quick, high energy light emitting from it. But quantum physicists, that when Han purple is exposed to extreme cold and a high magnetic field, which I'm like, who's doing these things? It's rad that they are, but like, who's just like, you know what we should do? We should take Han purple, we should get it really fucking cold, and we should put some big ass magnets on it. Because I'm like, you should be my best friend. So that's rad. But anyway, when they did that, the chemical structure of the pigment entered a new state called the quantum critical point, in which 3-dimension material loses a dimension. I don't know if this is the same as if you guys remember when, or at least I remember there was a while where I was really into like metamaterials and the fucking, I can't even remember what it's called, when you super cool a lot of materials, they act in ways that seem to defy physics. And so maybe this is another example of that. Either way, it's very strange that just a dye or a color would do this. A bulk 3-dimensional material can actually occur in just 2 dimensions. Low dimensionality is a key ingredient in many exotic theories that purport to account for various poorly understood phenomena, including high temperature superconductivity. But until now, there were no clear examples of dimensional reduction in real materials. So it's like it's like a thing that was theorized, hypothesized about, and here it is in this dye from thousands of years ago. And did those people back then know it was super special? I don't know, but I gotta think they might have if they were way and go to that extent to get these other materials instead of the ones they already knew worked, Like, that's pretty fucking crazy to me. This whole thing blows my mind. Like, I love this. And they go into like some shit that gets boring. I mean, it's rad. I just don't want to go through it right now, but you can if you want. But yeah, Han purple's a trip. Again, in my mind, I'm like, dude, were they like scrying shit? Were they talking to entities in other dimensions? Is it like way easier to get connected to that place when you're like sitting there with it? You probably don't want to put it on you if it's barium, I don't know. But I'm just saying, if you're like got like a mural in front of you made out of Han purple, like I kind of want to get some Han purple, paint some shit, and meditate with it. Anyway, Han purple is cool. You guys are like, man, she's not even stoned. Why? So yeah, Han purple, Han blue. I don't know. I don't know why I pulled this up. It's close to electric indigo. It's like the highest fucking vibration. It's pretty wild. Let me just scan through the contents. They just give a lot of, they don't have pictures. Lame. They have the one picture that was used in the other article too. Preservation. It's very unstable. That makes sense since it's radioactive. It fades in acid. So it looks blue now instead of purple. Super interesting. Okay, so that's Han purple. So these are just fun things about purple, right? And again, part of why they would choose purple, it's the most mysterious, it's the most elite, the most royal, it's the most out of our reach in a way, right? It's right on the edge of what we know. And it's our highest energy level that we have in our energetic bodies. So, of course, they're going to choose it for their things. But it's interesting how many things you can find. And these are just a few I haven't yet seen, some of the major purple theorists out there right now talking about. So I just wanted to throw them in before we look at some of those people's things. But this is one someone sent me today, where scientists have proposed a new particle that's a portal to a fifth dimension. Sounds a little bit like what I was theorizing about Han purple. And of course, the picture they chose has some purple on it. Again, I don't really necessarily think it's all part of some big thing. It is interesting that that's the signaling coming out of the control apparatus, and via the media and our supposed leaders is very purple, and it has been for a few years. And a lot of these things that are like possibly a bunch of bullshit, basically, are also like coated in purples. And of course, blues and pinks are kind of like lumped in together with those. So whatever. Scientists want to start searching for this hypothetical particle to connect as a portal to a warped fifth dimension that mediates the cosmic realms of light and dark. And it's weird. It is interesting considering how much people are focused on purple lately and how it is part of the end of the world programming that seems to be happening. It is interesting that they're talking about how much dark matter is over there in the fifth dimension and how if we can just get in touch with it, it'll be so great for some reason. I don't know. This reminds me of the whole CERN thing where it's like, they're obsessed with like reaching other dimensional entities and channeling them into this dimension, which then always reminds me of the supposed end times and what is supposed to happen there, right? The abyss is opened and all of this shit pours through. So that's all I really go into in my own brain when I'm reading through this, because the rest of it is all theoretical anyway. And it's just, scientists jacking each other off. So, but again, they throw purple on there. Maybe pure coincidence, but just interesting how much we see that around right now. We see it all over the marketing of this We Don't Have Time organization, which are the handlers of Greta and the whole idea that we're all dying right now and we don't have time and we're gonna die. A lot of what they do is very purple, of course, because purple is the end of the world programming. So it is true that there are people using purple, maybe by accident, maybe on purpose, right? Probably a bit of both. We also have this We the Purple Project for Democracy. Of course, they say be active, be informed, be heard. And what they really mean is suppress anything that isn't us and add your voice to what we're already saying. And vote. They have a purple podcast that's all about their very democratic whatever. It's all bullshit, obviously, right? And it's very purple programming again. If you want to save the world and you want to save democracy and you want to channel interdimensional entities in through the abyss, then you got to be down with purple programming. The Cova Pass, you may have heard of it. This is just one of many companies that has built the infrastructure for tracking, in a completely cryptographic way where it can't be hacked, it can't be faked, but it can be kept on your phone and accessed by any authority, your status as far as if you're infected, not infected, if you have antibodies, if you're I'm sure vaccinated, you get it. Right. So that's Cova Pass. I covered it a long time ago. So they're just one of the people who are creating that. It's one possible infrastructure that's going to be used. And of course, their entire theme is purpley blue. Because what other color could it be when it's part of the end of the world programming? So there is something to this. The things that have seemed to become our main focuses in our society as far as this time goes, or at least what we're supposed to focus on, is COVID, our technological answers to COVID, holding on to our democracy, even though we don't have one and never have and aren't supposed to. And our, the fucking world is ending because of environmental crisis and we have to switch to green energy and stop cow farts, right? And these things are all coded in purple. And of course, people have been pointing out since 2016 or so that the Clintons wearing purple was sort of the start. And Gina Phillips brought this up on our recent interview on Rogue Ways, in which she also talked about the purple end of the world programming. And this was the sort of symbol to the world and a message to everyone that the end of the world program was starting. And even people who don't buy into that, full, complete sort of conspiracy theory, at least noticed that Hillary Clinton was trying to remain seeming royal, even though she had lost, but also show mourning for how poorly the countries, what did she call them, intolerables or something, had chosen their president or whatever. And so her and Bill both had purple. These evil demons are just in purple and various shades related to purple. We saw only purples and pinks and blues that day. As you can see here, even whoever this strange frumpy person is also wearing purple. Even the demon daughters wearing dark blue. So they're all in on the purple signaling. And it wasn't at the time that common of a color for our leaders to pull out. So, it worked. And so, yeah, this is the lowest end of the sort of noticing that signaling, is to at least notice that she wanted to seem royal and wanted to be in mourning at that time. But other people pointed out how there was all kinds of purple programming going on. There's also the Purple Revolution, openly called so, in the UK. And we see Kamala wearing purple all the time, especially at the convention and in her inauguration. And again, these people don't do anything by accident. Everything they do is chosen ahead of time for a very specific reason. So there's a reason why she chose to become Grimace and dance around on stage like a fat fucking idiot. And here she is with her weird 2 Bible signing in whatever in her purple Grimace continuation. So they're all signaling this purple allegiance, right? And this ability or desire or commitment to go along with the purple program. So I'll just say again, there is definitely a purple program. There's definitely certain sectors of the elite that are with the purple movement and upholding the purple movement. And then there's also shit that people pull out that I'm like, I don't even know what you think the point of that is. Not everything purple is evil or bad. But it is good to know that these people do choose colors. And they choose colors so that they can signal to each other allegiances and commitments to certain programs, and that they know we're all on the same page here. Literally, we have our little playbook and we're in the purple section right now. They know that. And so, we see Nancy Pelosi wearing it also in this time. Chuck Schumer, this woman who thinks she was president or whatever, Stacey Abrams, this guy, I don't know. All these people are just suddenly wearing purple. It's very trendy, but only with the Democratic Party. So yeah, a lot of people think that Donald Trump was like a cog, like a stick in the cog, in the purple cog, and that he fucked it up and slowed it down, and that's why they amped it up in their other arenas, like the COVID is all, and you can look at so many COVID pictures allegedly that are, the vaccine, the virus itself, the people, all this stuff, and it's all purple. There's so much purple in this COVID programming. So that is definitely true. It's a real trend. And that again, global warming shit. So much global warming shit is purple. And now so much let's save our democracy shit is all in purple. And so it is interesting to wonder if maybe Donald Trump was not with the I doubt it, but whatever. Anyway, the really important thing to notice is that George Soros is involved in all kinds of politics and movements all around the world, and he is not a stranger to the purple program. And so we'll look at more of George Soros's bullshit. George Soros is famous for promoting color revolutions. He's famous for choosing colors for various places in the world and funding that color to become the dominant programming factor in that revolution. Is often destabilizing that region. I kind of want to go back and listen to my reverse voice in that section because I made so many mistakes. So I wonder what I was saying backwards. But anyways, yeah, he does a lot of color revolutions. So his money is all up in Clinton's and all of this, all of the global warming shit and all of the COVID shit. All of the riots we had this summer, which also had a lot of purple coding in them, he's all up in it. So the purple thing is real, dude. And he is always destabilizing regions in order to pull off his schemes and using colors to code them. So that is just true. Again, a lot of people think that the Purple Revolution is meant to take genuine, U.S. like dissent, and like that Donald Trump actually was not supposed to be elected, and that it was this actual like revolution and the people trying to choose something outside of the system, and that the purple shit came through to like reclaim that energy and direct it back into things that they wanted, like the global warming thing and like the race thing and like the COVID thing and all of that. And that is totally possible, but I don't really buy it. But I thought it would be remiss not to mention it, that possibly Donald Trump is not a part of the Purple Revolution and the Purple Program. A lot of people think it. But yeah, George Soros behind a lot of it, or at least a big funder of it. I don't think we know the actual people behind most of this shit. But he's one of the ones we can look at and notice that he does have these color revolutions around the planet, various colors at various times, and Black Lives Matter was definitely funded by him and is part of the purple programming. We saw a lot of purple wrapped up in that. So the reason I'm not necessarily showing you a lot of the different things is people like Human Vibration on Twitter have done this extensively and documented just mountains of purpleness throughout, I think like the last year or so. And like I said, she's kind of famous for this specific picture with the line of purples, as she calls it, and how, so it doesn't have to be just purple for her, but also it can be these pinks and sort of other colors as well, and that all of these encode this programming. So you can go through her Twitter and you can see all these, and here's one example of the coronavirus, right, being encoded in purple. We saw this consistently all across the media for months. We saw purple. I think it starts to get weird to me when people start being like, oh my God, the crown chakra's purple too. And you're like, well, no, that's why they chose purple. It's not like part of the problem. Like, it's just true. I don't know. So I think people go like anything. They jump off in all kinds of directions. But she has many, many threads, about various aspects of purple and how it's part of this program. So she's a good resource, right? I also like Anonymous Maple and some of the work that she's done. I really liked this specific example that they used purple in South Africa as well. And part of the revolution was this one funded by Soros, probably, because that's his calling card, but who knows? What was interesting too is the police actually used purple dye to spray these South African protesters with. And I'm like, well, that's just a bit much. Like, now it's pretty fucking clear if this is programming, So again, a lot of people looking at this though will, like, their take on it is that anything encoded in purple is fake. And that, I think, is dangerous. I mean, it's not dangerous, whatever. I think it's not very rational. So, because we go back and we look at Kamala's a real human being. She's standing there. She just is wearing purple as a signal. It's a symbol. It's part of the messaging, right? And again, Soros will choose these colors not because the color itself has some sort of power over us, and not because of any reason except it represents his and his cronies' intentions and their calling card. They're saying, yeah, this is one of ours, right? We're part of the Orange Revolution. We're part of the Purple Revolution. This is our thing we're doing. And here's your signal that this is part of it. So is it fake? No. Is it illusory? Yeah. And we know that most things we see on the world stage or the, large, wide social stage are controlled and contrived. And that doesn't mean they're not happening. So this happens with false flags too, where people are like, no, my cousin got shot there. And you're like, well, yeah, people get shot in false flags. No one's saying this shit didn't happen. We're saying that it was created, controlled, and enacted by these groups, for a reason. Not that no one got hurt, not that people didn't get sprayed with purple dye, and not even that those people participating in whatever this revolution was didn't believe in it. It's just that other forces came in and artificially enlarged it and, funded it and made it into their own tool, just like we saw with Black Lives Matter. Most people in Black Lives Matter really genuinely want to help Black people. It's a beautiful thing. And then these forces come through and co-opt that energy and use it to their own purposes, and you become a tool. So there's really cool examples of all this purple programming. I did like pointing out that, purple is often used in this sort of dark way. We talked earlier about the mysteriousness of purple, and it does make sense that we would use purple for those. So not everything is chosen to be part of the program, in my opinion. It's just also that purple exists and is a neat color to use for various reasons. So, but it is interesting. It's interesting to look at a lot of these things and to wonder, again, like, why is purple all over? And right now it is part of that program. The End of the World program, the Purple program, the Purple Revolution, they're all tied into the same purple theme. Again, like, there's a reason they choose these things, right? There's a reason they chose purple. Right now, our purple energy, in my opinion, our crown chakra energy is the most accessible and the most awake than it's been in probably a really, really long time for humanity's slumber. Maybe we're coming out of the dark age. I don't know, but they don't want us to awaken. And so they're going to take all that purple energy and we're going to automatically, if we're not paying attention, subconsciously like react to it and be like, yeah, purple, like right now, purple is so important to me, and like they know that. So they use it on purpose. So it absolutely is a thing they're doing. And they do this with all kinds of things, Oh, one of the things I wanted to mention was this whole, we're all in this together. We're all in this together. We were hearing this all year and we're like, fuck you, we're not all in this together. Like when fucking Ellen DeGeneres is telling me we're all in this together from her fucking palatial mansions, we know we're not all in this together. But there's a reason they choose that shit too. And it's because we actually are all in this together and they know it. And that sucks. And so now we're like, those of us awake don't even want to say it because we're like, oh, it's dirty now. Like saying we're all in this together now makes me angry. And that's fucked up. Like they took that from me. So I'm not going to let them because we are all in this together. And I don't mean that we should get vaccines or fucking give a shit about a cold that colds almost no one. Yes. Love in the Midst says, remember it was neon green for a while and they coded it all over the place. And it was orange for a while. I don't know if you guys remember this just a few years ago. It was all orange and it was all about feminism and it was all about girls running over the world. I wrote an article about it. I was talking about it then. Nobody really cared. I'm sure some people noticed and also did things about this orange program, but it was like really obvious that this was a constructed program to run in order to get our minds ensnared in it. Orange, again, like purple, is very noticeable. It grabs our attention, especially when they're combined. Oranges and blues, oranges and purples, they're complementary colors, so that conflict gets our attention. So you'll see a lot of blue and purple in this as well, but you'll notice the main theme is orange. And it's all about feminism. And this was a specific program that came out. And if you remember, Beyonce was all about it. There was literally a page. I was trying so hard to find it today and I couldn't find it, but I used to have a screenshot of it because it was so creepy. And it was all orange. And it was like, I pledge orange. I pledge to make sure that women are always heard. I pledge to never let a girl's voice like be oppressed or whatever. And I was like, this is creepy. Like... Like they had like whole, those things where they have like 60 people and each one's like, I pledge, I pledge, I pledge, I pledge. And there's like, they say the same shit like 70 fucking times over and over again, like a mantra to like fuck you up. That was going on with this. And I was like, nobody thinks this is fucking psycho that a bunch of random celebrities are suddenly all dressing in orange and telling us to literally like write our name into this fucking screen and pledge to like be in their weird feminist revolution with us. Like, no, thank you. Yes, Howie, and Freemasonry orange is a very, it's a thing. Orange encodes 33. So they had this whole orange thing. People like Melinda Gates and Beyonce were all like wearing orange and talking about feminism and talking about how girls shouldn't be called bossy because it's sexist. And I'm like, okay, well then can we not call guys like, I don't know, pick a fucking word. Like you're the one making it sexist. Boys get called bossy too, you fucking idiots. So all of it was orange. It was all just coated in orange. And it was this big orange fucking revolution for the, I mean, there actually was an orange revolution in Ukraine too around the same time. So it's like, I feel like they garner all this energy and they send it to whatever they want to accomplish. And this is why I kind of hate that I'm finally paying attention to the purple thing, because I didn't want to add energy to it. But I also think it's good to decode it and not let it affect you. And you can only do that if you know it. So it's good to talk about too. Anyways, I think they did all this orange feminist thing, got people all fucking angry about like how oppressed women are, and then like funneled it over to the fucking Ukraine thing or something, or vice versa. I don't know. Maybe they just work in tandem, but this is one of the women who like plans it and ran it and was like the public face of this anti-bossy girl power orange thing. I don't remember her name. Oh, Leslie. Leslie something. And here's the book. Here's the book they wrote on how not to say bossy or perky. Why can't I be perky? What the fuck? They're like, yeah, but why is it only used for girls? I'm like, well, so is like tits usually, you know? Like we don't say tits is, I mean, there's like things that are feminine, you know? And like what, we just can't ever talk about any of them again. I don't think bossy was ever a feminine thing. So maybe that one, I don't know. It's just stupid. It's stupid. It's so dumb. So anyways, this was all orange too. This book came out. Blah, blah, blah. It's stupid. But again, so this was orange, right? And at the time it was all orange. And now it's all purple. So again, there's some people who think that like the purple thing is a sign that this is not a part of reality, or that it's like literally fake, as in it doesn't exist, but it's just being put on the TV for you. And while that is true of COVID and man-made global climate change at the hands of burning carbon or whatever, it's not like what the purple program really is. If you want to get down to it, any of their color programs are illusion, right? So it's not a quality of purple that makes it illusory. It's them using it in a way that contrives reality for their purposes, right? So that I like to make that distinction, because I think, again, it's dangerous isn't the right word, but not it's just not accurate, in my opinion, to say that purple encodes a lack of reality. It just encodes their programming right now. It is really good to notice their programming. Anyway, here's just a small map of some color revolutions. There's a bunch of them over time. Not all of them, obviously not all of them are associated with George Soros, but I would not be surprised if all of them were associated with secret societies and control structures. And so you can go all throughout time. This is just a convenient little wiki chart. All these different revolutions. Here's that orange revolution in Ukraine that I was talking about. So that was 2004 and 5. I guess that was first then, because this bossy thing was definitely later than that. Here's another purple revolution. There's been more than one of every color revolution. And maybe some of them were real and just natural and organic and didn't get co-opted. Who knows? You'd have to go through each, right? But I'm willing to bet that most of them were pretty constructed. And yeah. So there's all the colors. All the colors of the rainbow can be used against us. All the colors of the rainbows can be used to affect us in specific ways. The brain, our experience, it's an incredibly manipulatable thing. You know, it's incredibly, like, we are hackable for whatever reason, and we are manipulatable, and colors have effects on us. And so using colors, that's why they study the fuck out of it. And every fucking high level advertising that is going on, you know, they're all certain colors and certain patterns and certain flicker rates. Like, they know how to fucking make us pay attention and how to send messages into our mind through all kinds of symbolism. But the truth is, purple's a beautiful fucking color. It's a great color. I love purple. It is my favorite color, and it always has been. And you would not know it from my clothing, which is mostly black and blue, but purple is my favorite color. I fucking love purple. I will never stop loving purple. And it's part of what I get overwhelmed with when, you know, there's people pulling out really good examples, like all the COVID shit and all of this, like all the things going along with their programming, and like what their clear intention is right now is to like make this one world fucking overwhelming control of every aspect of your life through technology and this supposed virus and this, you know, takeover like corporate takeover and whatnot, that's happening, and they have encoded it with purple right now. And again, I think it's because of our chakra, our crown chakra, and the fact that we're in this place energetically where that is the most accessible that it has ever been right now. It's like, I think there's a reason, but that's not purple's fault. So purple didn't do anything wrong. And just looking at any example of purple and pretending that that has some sort of nefarious meaning is really not fair. It's not honest even. You really sit down and ask yourself, like, do you think purple for the entirety of human history has been used to encode that, like, the aspects that are not real? I guess, like, you could say that, like, because we can't see certain wavelengths up there in that area, we also can't see the ones down below, infrared, but why nobody's attacking red. And that doesn't mean it's not real. That just means we didn't perceive it, and I think most of us here do perceive this purple programming. We've talked about it a bit. This is the first time I really just dove into the purple itself, but it's come up a few times. We're not ignoring it, but I just don't think it would be healthy or rational to assume that everything purple has some sort of hidden meaning or is part of the plan. So I hope that we can all discern, just like we have to discern with everything, what is meaningful and what does fit and what just happens to exist. Some people are just going to wear purple sometimes and it's not going to mean anything. So that's my take in general. Again, I really, really love purple. And as always, I don't want you to even agree with me. I don't really care. I just want people to think, right? I just want us to think about it. So I'm totally open to criticism and people telling me I'm wrong. And, all the shit I didn't go into. Again, you could go to this Human Vibration. Her entire Twitter feed is like about this purple shit. All of it. Like, there's so many avenues she goes into, and some of them are fascinating. So it's really cool. I didn't go into all those because that's her work, and we can go look here. I'll throw you her link if you want to go check her out. And there's plenty of people doing this purple work on Twitter. You can find all these people doing like purple research. But again, the vast majority of them seem to be saying that literally everything presented to us in any shade of purple or pink is literally not real. And that's just not what I ascribe to. I'm somewhere in the middle, as always. Definitely something going on. Purple's definitely being used to encode it. Definitely for a reason. Again, it's not an accident that we respond to purple in certain ways and that they are choosing to use it in these ways against us, right? They're weaponizing purple. But like we saw, they've weaponized orange, they've weaponized yellow, they weaponized every color, and they've used them all at various times, and they've all been illusory, and not all of them have those same characteristics that purple has. So it's not because it's purple, it's because of what it means, in my humble opinion, again. So yeah, that's just been on my mind for a while, because I really love this purple research, and I really love the people who pointed out this end of the world purple programming. I think that was fucking an amazing catch and really good to notice, and people have been working on that for years and just gathering, all of those aspects that they're going towards, and that's helpful. That's very helpful, and so I like that a lot. And I just also see this like deep dive off into like things that don't make sense to me, but maybe I'm just not there yet. So yeah, I'd love to know what you guys think. Leave your comments if you're listening to this later. Let me know now if you're still here live in the chat. Green is awesome. Green's another one of my favorite colors. I'm with you, Howie. Blues. Yeah, pink is nice. I don't know why I used to hate it. I mean, I do know why, but it's just weird to think that as a child I didn't like pink. I mean, like, now, like, there's no color I don't like. There's colors I don't want to wear. They don't look good at me. There's colors I don't want to decorate with. But it's not like I don't like them. They're just not always exactly what I want in my space. Bioluminescence can be all kinds of colors, right? I think it can be, like, purple, green, blue, yellow. I think there's lots of, which is rad. It's rad that animals create that. Oh my God, Love in the Midst just used all these rainbow symbols, and it reminded me, I don't want to happen to the rainbow what happened to purple for me, because I loved rainbows for a time in my teenage years, and I found this rainbow car like deodorizer thing, you hang it from your rearview mirror, it smells good. I had that up and it was rainbow shape, whatever. And then like a couple years later, I don't remember what happened, but there was some like I went to like a gay rights parade or something, and there was all those rainbows, and I was like, I love rainbows, yay, me too. And then I was like, oh, it's like a gay symbol, and I was like, oh, and then I was like talking to people, and they're like, oh yeah, we thought you were a lesbian, like at school and shit. I mean, I had boyfriends too, but like, they're like, yeah, we just figured you were a lesbian, and I was like, oh no, like I just like rainbows. So I don't want that to happen to purple, where it's like now because you're wearing purple, it like means something. I'm like, if I want to having a rainbow in my car, it doesn't mean anything. Like I'm cool with it being used as a symbol for whatever people want to use it for, but like you can't then assume that every time you see it, that's what it means. And that's what I feel about purple, right? Purple's cool. It's being used in this way. That doesn't mean every time we see it, it is this signal, this like, it means this. You get it. But thanks for reminding me of the rainbows. Love in the midst. Purple people leaders. Oh yeah, dude. They're coming for us. Yeah. We think, we reflect, we consider, we observe, and we witness, Snake Jones said. That's a good way to describe it. And it's good to consider all of these things. It's good to look into all these avenues and to consider them. And it's really awesome to question the nature of reality. And it's really awesome to question what could be real and could be fake or not, because there is so much that is absolutely fake and has been faked, down to like whether or not the earth is a certain shape, down to whether or not, nuclear explosions exist. Like all of these things are fantastic to question them. And I'm still... the jury is out on many of these things, right? Because I think there's so many fantastically good questions that aren't answered. And so I love looking at literally anything. I want to question literally everything. And so it's really, really good to question. And then it's also really good to balance that with like, okay, what's like, let's look at it logically. Logically, you have to admit that purple didn't do anything wrong and that not everything purple is part of the program, but that there is a program. It's pretty obvious. I mean, you saw like all these people wearing it. They're like publishing, they're literally calling it the Purple Revolution in some places. They're using this purple encoding on all of the major facets of their push right now to program us socially and politically, right? All of it. Every aspect of it is purple. So it's definitely there. It's definitely obvious, and it's a really good point. And yeah, now I'm going to stop rambling about purple to you. I hope that you enjoyed some of this. The Han purple shit is my favorite. And again, that's like thousands of years ago. It predates the purple programming. Purple is just a cool color too. But yeah, I don't want to let them hijack shit from us. I don't want them to be able to take "we're all in this together" as a true statement and not, and have us like never use it again because we saw how fucking phony it was and get angry about it. Like, we are all in this together. Just accept them. They, the controllers, the archons, the rulers, the elites. I'm not in it with them. But the rest of us really are actually in this together. And it's like kind of terrifying how brainwashed most of us are right now. But yeah, they're twisting these things, and it's not cool, but it also, again, that's actually the exact same energy. We're all in this together. If your crown chakra is activated and you're like getting that energy and that message, you cannot take your mind out of the space in which we actually are all one. Right? All energy is here. It's all good and bad and light and dark. It's all good. It's all like here in this moment right now. And that there's nothing actually wrong with that, right? And that, the highest aspects of ourselves, like, don't judge each other for the little tiny fuck ups we make and mistakes we make, even when they snowball into a catastrophic like proportions. Like that level of us like gets all of that, like that's just like there in that energy structure. So they were trying to fucking control that part of us, because that would be the worst for us to actually get past their fucked up division games. They're like sexist and transphobic and like racist and all these division games they play and pit us against each other, Republicans and Democrats and all that shit, and transcend that and be like, no, we're actually all fucking cool as fuck. We're all here together and we're all one. They can't have that, right? So they have to take all that purple energy and sew it back into like their shit. And their version of "we are all one" is one world government. Their version of "we are all one" is you all do what we say. That's what That's what we're all one, as in you do what the fuck we told you to do, right? That makes you part of this like united human front. Similar energies, just like we looked at with that programming language saying they're inverting the control of it, right? Like, it's the same with saying we're all in this together and using purple. They're the same energy and they're both being manipulated right now and used against us to invert it so that they can pull off their shit. Isn't it interesting to wonder if they're not actually this like super nefarious, actually evil, demonically interlaced set of beings trying to fuck the world, but if they're actually just people who are so fucking disconnected that this is what they manifest. This is what they use purple crown chakra energy to manifest. Do you know what I mean? Like if it's not actually planned at any fucking level, but this is just what happens when you have enough people that are so fucking ass backwards in their energetic interpretations and manifestations. Could be. I like to think of it sometimes. It's possible, right? Transmute it. That's right. Like you can take all this energy, and especially knowing they want to use it, you can be like, that's cool. I'm going to do all this over here. I'm going to actually unite with people on energetic, emotional, mental levels and see what we can co-create together in our highest vision of our highest selves. Like that's what I'm going to do with my purple energy. We actually are all in this together, and you guys can go fucking do your stupid bullshit. Try really hard not to judge you, even though I think you're satanic evil bitches. But I'm going to do this over here. Gotta do it. Transmute it. That's rad. Carolina in the Pines is painting 2 room shades of purple this weekend, claiming it for its beauty. Don't let them take purple from us. That's rad. Trump definitely wore orange makeup. Yeah, he did, which is right. Orange is in opposition to purple. I mean, like on the color wheel, there are, what's that called? Complementary. They contrast perfectly. So it's so interesting too that they made like the enemy orange. Go purple because orange is bad. It's fucking not an accident, dude. Not an accident. They were using orange as what we like should do before that, and they made it like the enemy. It's very interesting. But it's also like, yeah, we can't be down on ourselves because we're programmable, you know? These colors actually do have energetic signatures to them, and it's not our fault. And it's also not purple's fault. Breaking natural and universal laws. Let me know how that works out for you. Because you think, dude, they think it's going to work out. You know, that 5th dimensional thing that I had pulled up for a second where they're like they think they can have portals to the 5th dimension and that how it connects with all this abyss shit. And I'm trying to draw in interdimensional entities and stuff. And I just brought it up because it so happened to have the purple on it. So could be part of the programming, you know. Anyway, what is my point? Oh, my point is, what's his name? Neil Kramer. Neil Kramer is an awesome badass. He's super cool. I love him so much. I really want him to come on Rogueways, and I know he's going to someday soon. So let's keep imagining that. But anyway, he has his explanation for what these sort of evil, like why these controllers are working with these dark evil entities and like what the whole fucking deal is that these people wanted to get out of their sort of karmic, I hate thinking of karma as a punishment, but you really do like have cause and effect in your life and in your soul journey. And so they wanted to get out of some of their karma or, you know, the response to some of their completely horrendous actions. And so instead of like following on with their soul evolution and just dealing with that, they like hijacked some shit, figured out some like side roads and like fucking skipped some parts and jumped up. And when they did that, they went to the 5th dimension. They thought they had like ascended or whatever. And in reality, they had just gone to a place where they were completely cut off from everything. And so they were there with sort of, I hope I'm representing this accurately. And so they were there with sort of the energy that they went with, right? Like this is the energy store you have when you get there. And when it's gone, you're like gone. Like you go back to reset, like we sort of talked about a couple episodes ago, where you start over again, you know? And so they're stuck there, but that the 5th dimension can get energy from this dimension emotionally. And so that's why they do all this work to like harvest all this emotion and shit. And it's not, you know, it's very similar to a lot of theories, but it's like, I don't know, it like makes more sense in my mind. I'm like, oh, these motherfuckers are stuck. They're stuck and they're desperate. And if we stop feeding them, like, they just die. It just fits so well with so many of the things that I know about energy exchange and other entities and whatnot. So it's interesting. It's an interesting prospect. And it's even more interesting why we would be trying so hard, or their little lackeys would be trying so hard to open portals to that space, right? Could be a thing. Could be a thing. Fifth dimensional beings. So it's interesting too, because there's so many people who are like, oh, we're going to the fourth dimension. Oh, we're going up to the fifth dimension. I'm like, I don't think other dimensions are just automatically like fucking pure and good. Like, I think they just have different qualities. I could be wrong. I love wisteria. Wisteria is purple. Wisteria smells so good. Heliotrope, echinacea. I think you guys are listing purple things, but I'm not sure. Lavender. Yeah, and I think we had like a color spectrum in our state of Colorado of like warnings for like COVID danger, which is fucking ridiculous. Like, I can't believe how stupid everyone is. So they had like oh, warning, right now we're in orange, and like now we're in red, and now we're in like tartan or whatever. And you're just like, some of these don't make sense. I think purple was the highest one. I should go find out and see if I can fucking find it. Let me see, actually. Maybe I can pull it up right now. Colorado COVID color chart. Is that what you're supposed to call it? Peak COVID. I don't know. I don't know if that's the right words to use to try to find it even. Is it like Colorado COVID color system warning? Oh, here we go. No, sorry. It's red. That makes sense. I don't know why purple was in my mind. I mean, I know why purple's in my mind, but I thought they had like a purple level. Oh, they do. Here it is. I'll just show you real quick. So purple was their highest. It was the most widespread. So it's interesting, right? I also noticed, or someone maybe it was from one of those purple researchers on Twitter, but someone saw that like purple was like the new color for like extra bad weather on, you know, and the weather always has like their like green to red usually. Well, now it's like green to purple. So like that is pretty interesting. Oh, you guys can't see it. My bad. There you go. So purple was the highest and the worst, and yellow was like the best. So that doesn't make sense to me at all, except, you know, I guess if you're going by the color spectrum, there's some truth in it, but if purple's calming and royal and all these things, it'd be weird to associate it with like the worst stage of something, but whatever you guys fucking want to do, you weirdos. Air quality codes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right, Trapaskunk. We can program ourselves now that we know the tools of programming and use these things. And I honestly think that's basically what any kind of like psychology or magic or like meditation really is all about, is programming yourself, because you're hackable, and so you hack yourself. It's not like I hate using the computer terms because we're not computers, but it's what people understand, right? So we can create ourselves exactly as we want. Part of it is visualization, and part of it is mindset, and part of it is like your will, and part of it is the habits and the actions and like the timings and all these things, right? And it basically comes down to that. It's like magic and psychology. So I totally agree. You're right. And we can do that more easily the more we know what they're trying to program us with too, right? Because you can't really undo the fact that it's coming into your mind if you're seeing it or experiencing it or hearing it, but you can add the message, this isn't what I'm doing, or this isn't what I agree with, or actually it means this. And so we can counter it, right? And make sure it's at least balanced in there. That's my goal usually anyways. Avoid it if possible, and when not, just balance it out. And then if you do that often enough and you're like adding that message in often enough, you can even transcend it, right? That's the goal. Snake Jones knows Neil Kramer personally. Hook it up, bro. Come on. I was gonna go hang out at one of his events with him or whatever, but it was like fucking expensive. I was like, never mind. You're cool, but so it'd be really cool to talk to him. He's such an intelligent master. Yeah, Snake. Everyone wants you to know. Get him on the show. Purple level of pandemic allowed California to open back up. Really? So that's the lowest for them. The best is purple. It's the opposite of us. Yeah, that's what he told me the last time I asked him about it. He's like, I'm not doing other shows right now, but maybe some other time. So that makes sense. At least he's consistent. He's not just saying that to me. I totally get that too. You've been to 5 of his New York seminars. Like, dude, those are the ones that are too expensive for me. Kramer from Seinfeld. Yeah, dude, that'd be rad. I'm so sad that people hate him because he had a mistake. He made a mistake. Yeah. Interverse is saying purple washing is spiritual bypassing. I think that's basically what we've been saying. And what's up, Chance? Nice to see you. I know, Vanguard of Truth, I was like, I really just want to go to a restaurant, like, eat there, like, be with other people. And you can now. We're, like, allowed. And I never really wasn't. We kept going to restaurants every once in a while anyways. Like, I don't know. But, you know, in general, you weren't really allowed to. And a lot of restaurants were saying no. And then especially because I don't wear a mask, there was even more that were like, no, you can't come in. And sometimes I'd get them to let me in, and sometimes they'd just say no. And it's a weird mix right now of like people, in a way, like more so than ever, it feels like people are not fucking giving a shit and just not wearing their mask, or just kind of half-assing it, or not like caring or attacking people for it. And at the same time, like some places and some people are like even more like doubled down, like literally doubled down, double mask, you fucking idiots. But you know, so like it's weird. It's like polarizing even more, or even more people are sort of like, I don't fucking care anymore, and even more people are like, it's the biggest deal that's ever fucking happened. So I don't know. It'd be cool if they come back, especially like festivals and stuff, you know. Like I really have been craving some like good ass fucking farmers markets, like street fairs, like that kind of shit. And hopefully people just fucking do it. Like, why are we waiting for them to tell us that this fake ass thing is over? Stupid. Thank you, Chance, for the super chat. I really appreciate it so much. Thank you so much. I really also hope that, you know, we decide that we want to interact again and like do all this, and that like cements in us this remembrance that we don't have to do what we're fucking told, and we can do what the fuck we want. And we don't have to do it non-violently or make a fucking anything out of it. Just do it. That's like the simplest way to do it, is to just do it. But yeah. Joseph Korea says, politically, doesn't purple mean bipartisan, a mixture of red and blue? Yeah, and I should have done the red, white, and blue episode before the purple episode in order to connect those things. But to be very quick about it, everything divisive in our history can be traced back to red and blue. We have Democrats and Republicans, and we have Athens, and we have Sparta, and we have Coke, and we have Pepsi, and we have Bloods, and we have Crips, and we have a billion examples of this. And that also is not an accident. And just like the purple thing, it is chosen on purpose because it corresponds to spiritual channels and energies inside of us, or within, you know, around us, within us, however you think of your body and your various bodies interacting, right? So red and blue are a very central part of our spiritual channels for very specific reasons. And we also see veins and capillaries or whatever, like one's red, one's blue. So physically within us, that's also a thing. Energetically, it's a thing that I'm not going to go into, but you can go find out about if you want to, especially in like Hindu and Buddhist traditions. You can find out some about that. And then there's a white channel also, right? And white is actually like, let me just think for a second. Like like if there was going to be a color that combined them, it would be white, not purple. Anyways, so red, white, and blue are the colors also therefore chosen for what? Every fucking flag ever. I mean, not really, but basically. And when there's not red, white, or blue, there's yellow, which is a version of white. There's green, which is a version... green, let's not do green. There's black, which is a version of blue. And these are like all the colors that we ever see on any flags. Why? Why not more? Like, why not? Why aren't all flags purple? Right? Or why aren't all flags just like, yeah, green or something, you know? But like, why are they all red, white, and blue? Because they're taking these spiritual and alchemical, alchemy, right? And the first colors we ever see, red, white, and black, which black is a version of blue. There's reasons for all of these things. They're like integral parts of our structure, the matrix, if you will. And I don't mean computer simulation. I mean like the matrix of the universe. Matrix from Mother, right? Anyways. So red, white, and blue is encoded into all of that. Naturally, that's organic. So they take it and they corrupt it and they use it for their own purposes. And so they divide it. If you're divided red and blue, you're divided against yourself. You're divided against nature. In a natural system, those are all separate, but together. And when they're combined, they're not necessarily purple, actually. But yes, to our visible, you know, when we mix like paints together, which is a different kind of optics. So like our chakras are like light emitting, whereas paints are like light reflecting. It's actually a different system. But I hope I'm not just like getting too far off for people. But anyways, it's fascinating to me. And so I talk about it a lot. But the combination, yeah, so in light reflecting or whatever, which might even be reflective of the inversion. But I'd have to think a lot harder about that. But in light reflecting, it would be purple. Red and blue mixed together is purple. We all know that from like art, right? So that's a good point that they are possibly also... And I've thought about this too, trying to reflect that they are like uniting and they're talking about unity and they're talking about how we all have to go forward together and shit. And so they might be like, have like, you know, coked and Pepsi'd us up so much into these divisive little like camps that they're now going to like smash us back together with this like, and it'll feel like this sick fucking heavy like sap of unity where we'll be like, oh, phew. Like, we don't have to worry about all that shit anymore. We're just one now. Like, it'll be like that fucking scene in, like, when you read the book, at least, of Brave New World, where it's... No, actually, they had it in the show, too, where it's just, like, orgy, and you just, like, fucking get lost in it. It'll be like that, right? They're like, you finally won't be divided anymore. Maybe, right? That's at least one possibility of why they're choosing purple. Because they've been on this red, white, and blue kick for fucking thousands of years. Anyway, thank you for bringing that up, Joseph Correa. Good tangent. And I do want to do a red, white, and blue episode someday and go further into that, those systems and those qualities. I love colors. I have a whole article too on my site, rogueways.org, about a cosmology of color that I found very fascinating and very different from anything I'd ever learned before. So super interesting. Project Cheney's in the house. What's up? Yeah. I, as usual, have no idea how far back in the chat I am. So, but it is interesting that right now I'm airing 3 of 3 channels with 33 people watching. So 33. Yeah. Vanguard of Truth says, I miss meeting random people and sitting in circles and passing a joint and not giving a shit about what germs they have. I still don't you not? But I get it. We don't get to do that anymore. We couldn't possibly have people sharing energy right now at the time when we're like the most activated and it's the most accessible to feel actually united at a spiritual level and not this false social political level that they're going to try to pull. Oh my God. Interverse Chance says, in my town there's a Facebook group promoted by the local news and radio stations where they add companies to a blacklist to group bully online if those companies dare to let a person go maskless. I get so fucking pissed off. Like, what is wrong with you? If you don't want to wear a fucking mask, if you want to wear a mask, you want to go to old places where you know they force everyone to wear masks, and just go there and shut the fuck up. Like, it's none of your fucking business. I can't believe how fucking righteous people feel about bullying and like controlling other humans. Like, you really have to be a small ass, tiny little broken fuck to try to control other people like that. It's fucking terrifying how many people are that fucking shattered inside. You sad, sad little fucks. That's why I get like angry. I'm like, just fucking, I have this like energy when I'm out now where I'm like, oh, fucking try to talk to me. Fucking try to look at me without my mask and do anything but smile at me, because I will punch you in your stupid fucking face. And I'm like waiting like for someone to come. Like, I'm like, do it. Like, I dare you. So no one ever does, of course, because I probably have this like terrifying aura or whatever. But I smile at everyone. I'm like, hi, because I'm like, I want you to look at my fucking maskless face and deal with the fact that I'm a human being. But yeah, no, but then I'm also like, I should not do that, because they're all broken, shattered, tiny little fucks, and it's sad. But I also want them to deal with the consequences of being a broken, shattered, tiny little fuck, so they'll heal themselves and get the fuck over it. It's like ruining the world because they're so broken inside. Anyway, I haven't seen that here where I am, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. See, this is when I also wish that I was a hacker. I was so excited when Anonymous, and I used to like write to all those guys in jails and shit. Because like I love them so much and they're my heroes, because I'm like, those are the people who can actually change. So like a hacker could go and just destroy that fucking page. Just like make it gone. I know they'd make it again, but we just destroy it again. I'm sure they'll call that terrorism soon. They probably already do. It's probably in the Homegrown Terrorist Act, which, by the way, was written a long time ago. We didn't need another one. Yeah, I can't wait to do an East Coast Rogueways meetup, which was going to possibly happen this spring, but I personally don't mind getting together with large groups of people, but when we tried to do this last year during the fake pandemic, people couldn't come. And, you know, for various reasons, whether they didn't want to get on an airplane with a mask, or they, you know, didn't want to travel to other states not knowing like how shit would go down in that state. And like, you know, there's so many reasons. Plus people have maybe found a harder time having abundance in their life. And so we called it off because only like 2 people ended up being able to go out of the like, you know, 30 people or however was going to go before the fucking pandemic hit full effect. The fake pandemic. There's never been a pandemic. So I want to do it. I want to still do it someday, right? And this year was hopeful, but like I said, I could plan it and then nobody could come, and then I'd be sad and lonely. So hopefully sometime. And we have somebody who also volunteered some of their property for us to go camp on. So when it does happen, we may even be able to do it for way cheaper than before. Vanguard of Truth says, I love this small community, but Rogueways deserves a way bigger audience. Thank you so much. I have thought many times that it's probably really good that my channel grows so slowly, and possibly because of, you know, suppression in inorganic ways, which is very likely. But I'm kind of grateful because it lets me keep doing it. Maybe that's a stupid way to look at it, but that's what I tell myself. Oh, I'm your hero. You're my hero. Thank you. My hero right now is, oh my God, who was it? Fuck, I forgot my hero. Oh, it's Dave Portnoy. This is my mainstream hero because he's single-handedly saving thousands of small businesses. He's running like a government program that the government couldn't fucking run by just taking donations from people and then handing it out to small businesses. That's it. And all these fucking businesses are saved because of it. And I'm like, what a fucking genius. And he's part of this day trading thing. And he's like, at least, you know, on a normie level, very pro freedom. So I'm just like always grateful when someone on like somewhat of the main stage is doing good things. And he's one of those people. In the alternative universe, I have many, many heroes too. But yeah, that's right. Interverse. And also Interverse, we have very similar, I'm glad we connected. We have a very similar vibe. And oh my God, Chance of Interverse just dropped the episode we just did recently that I was telling you guys about sometime recently. That's out now, so you can go watch it, and it is on his site. Chance, throw up the links. I don't know if it'll let you, actually. Let me grab them while we're talking about them so you guys can go check out this episode because it's fucking amazing. Chance found these tarot cards in Cyberpunk 2077, and he called them the Darketypes. They're pretty fucking gruesome. They're like, it's a crazy tarot deck, and they have the full deck in the game. And so we went through the cards and like analyzed the meaning, you know, and many of them are so, it's fucking amazing. It's amazing what it teaches you about like the darkness and also about, here's the link. Go check that episode out. It's super cool. And I'm about to post that also probably tomorrow, same show. So so people can see it if they don't catch this episode, don't know that that's there or whatever. It's cool. I'll put a link to this as well. And then there's a hidden hour if you're not a subscriber at Interverse yet, that if you are a subscriber either at Interverse or at roguelocals.com, you'll be able to check out that second hour. So if you're not already supporting both of us, honestly, then you probably should think about doing that because you should support what you love before it goes away. We both, I think, do this out of the fucking love in our hearts because we want to speak truth and, you know, be a voice of reason in the world. But it helps, you know, to be able to afford to do it. And there are a lot of expenses with it as well. And so, yeah, please do support. But you'll be able to see the second hour if you support also. So do that too. Anyways, we have very similar like vibes and ideas and, you know, ways of being. And so it makes sense. Not only that we would both possibly experience suppression and, you know, fuckery in various ways, but also that, you know, I was thinking about this a lot and I was like, not everybody is here. Not everybody wants to hear a show like this because they would rather hear about, you know, that Trump level of the purple revolution, right? Where Trump is like the savior against the purple revolution or against the fake purple revolution thing, you know what I mean? They'd rather hear that level. Or then like they'd rather hear the level where like, no, literally every single purple thing represents an actual like aspect of reality that, or of what's being presented to us as reality that isn't actually even real at all. Like it literally never even happened. Not even any, like it's CGI, just fully fake shit, you know, and that's cool too. But like, this is like a specific vibe, right? It's a specific thing. And our community is the fucking best. Like definitely quality, not quantity. And definitely like attracting, I think, some of the, you know, your vibe attracts your tribe. Attracting some of the fucking coolest people out there of the most open minds and are willing to think critically about literally everything, including ourselves. It was funny. Someone today like attacked me. They were like, well, aren't you the person who like apologized once because you were projecting onto someone else? And I'm like, yeah, that was me. Like, is that a problem? You know, like, and they like tried to make it a bad thing. I'm like, I like to hang out with people who think it's a good thing to confess when you've made a, you know, sin and you like, here's my mistake. I'm sorry I made it. Now I'm going to move on. Like, I think that's pretty fucking much what I wish everyone did all the time. If everyone was honest, then we wouldn't have all this egotistical shit that continues the cycles of fuckery on and on into like infinity forever. Like, I can't take it, you know? Like, I'd rather be brutally honest and radically honest as often as possible, including with myself, hopefully forever. So yeah, I'm the person who projected onto someone and then said, I'm sorry, I'm projecting onto you. Please forgive me. Like, you know, and there's times where I don't realize that I was an asshole and don't admit it too. And I hope to get better and better at that. Anyways, go check out that episode at Interverse. Super rad, super fun. And we are going to finish it because we actually only got halfway through the deck and it's so fun. It's such a cool conversation. So we're actually going to finish it Valentine's Day actually will be the day that you will see the conclusion of that episode and the second half of the deck. So be ready. Watch the whole thing by then so that you can be ready to see the stunning conclusion. It'll be pretty cool. There's a lot of purple in that deck too, and it is used in some of the darker ways, you know, that mysterious like darkness. But I'll tell you, I said it a little bit, or I hinted at it a little bit, but I did like a deep dive vision once, literally a deep dive. Like I went down into the center of the earth because I wanted to see what was there. And in that, you know, energetic level that I was at, that body that I was using to do that, what was in the center of the world was like the deepest purple you could get before black, like softly pulsing. And as soon as I got close to it, it like knew I was there, and it like reached out to me, and we had a little like conversation. And I was like, holy shit. When I got back, I was like, I just fucking talked to Mother Earth, and she's purple. She's purple, or like, is that indigo? I don't know. Like so purple that you're almost black. And yeah, so that's what I think Mother Earth looks like at the spiritual level, which was, it was gorgeous and beautiful, and it makes sense. It makes sense to me why it would be that color. And I'm sure some people would be like, that was Satan, you went to hell or something, but that's not what happened. So yeah, I don't know. Purple is a beautiful color. It's my favorite color, and it's always going to be my favorite color. And I'm glad that we can look at it in a balanced, rational way. And, you know, we see it in so many places in the universe that are especially beautiful and rare, right? Like we were talking about how rare it is in nature, not so much in flowers, but like otherwise not that common. Not many purple birds. There's a couple hummingbirds and stuff, you know, there's just like not many purple things. And then Mother Earth is purple. And if you go out into the fucking Utah like desert at night and you don't have a moon in the sky and you can see the Milky Way again like you used to when you were young, it's purple. It's fucking purple. And it's green and it's beautiful. And those are kind of two ends of the spectrum too, right? All the way out into the universe and all the way down into the core of the earth. It's interesting that they kind of mirror each other. But those are my thoughts on purple. I love you guys so much. I'm so glad you're here to chat with me about all of this and let me get it off my chest and get through it. And again, I'd really super love to hear people, you know, if I'm missing something or whatever, didn't understand an aspect or whatever, I'd love to be educated about that in my ignorance. And, you know, we'll just keep an open mind. We know the purple program is here and running, and we know that we're not going to let it take our own like sovereign purpleness away, and it's not going to co-opt it. It's not going to funnel it into any bullshit. We're going to use that shit for ourselves. And that's a beautiful thing. So until you master your crown chakra, your purple energy, and the height of who you are, especially in connection with everyone around you as best you can, all the way deep down into the bowels of the earth and all the way straight up into the center of the Milky Way and the entire universe, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first.
Mind is elusive, time is exclusive, round trip all inclusive, the island is abusive, Jekyll's wearing hides in plain sight lines, heckle devils blind by strange slight lines, light designed as their own resource, if they control the narrative there's no recourse, prophecies diseased by a strong overreach, time ain't a seat that sits idly by while breach, watching bodies wither as they slither like a scaled river on a land of which they don't own a sliver, fatal error and avoidance, symbiosis, lack of focus, to understand balance from the rover to the lotus, from light to the dopest, gifted through osmosis, luminance went out a while ago, they didn't notice, masturbating currency, squatting in the dark chamber, disconnected from Akasha, watching dissipate the vapors.
You still don't get it, do you, boys? There ain't no countries anymore, no more good guys, they're running the whole show, they own everything, the whole goddamn planet, they can do whatever they want. What's wrong with having it good for a change? Now they're gonna let us have it good if we just help them. They're gonna leave us alone, let us make some money. You can have a little taste of that good life too. I know you want it. Hell, everybody does.
Do it to your own kind.
What's the threat? We all sell out every day. Might as well be on the winning team.